The market does not pay you for effort. It pays you for precision. It rewards patience with staggering exponential returns. But that reward demands an excruciating price: disciplined, purposeful silence. If you cannot master the art of disciplined inactivity, you will forever be a source of supply for the smart money. You will be the customer. Today we dissect the 90% rule. We study the power of purposeful stillness. Subscribe now, like this video, and leave a comment. By doing that, you help more people see this message, and you let me know this work is not in vain. Speculation is not continuous trading. It is intermittent, high-conviction waiting. The public believes the successful speculator is a machine always churning, always involved, always anticipating the immediate next turn. This is the amateur's view of success. It is the gambler's illusion. My own reality, and the reality of every man who has held great fortunes in the exchanges, is one of near total abstinence. I spend vastly more time simply watching the tape. I analyze the conditions. I calculate the probabilities. Buying or selling is the brief, necessary interruption in the long, drawn-out strategy of waiting. The majority of the time, the market conditions are ambiguous. They are messy. The signals lack sufficient momentum or genuine conviction. If the market is not giving you a clear, ringing signal, the only correct position is the one that costs you nothing. That position is cash. Inactivity is the strategy of preservation. It is the moat around your capital. It is your first best line of defense. If you find yourself involved simply because you enjoy the action, or because you feel compelled to justify your presence at the ticker, you are not speculating. You are gambling. The man who trades every day will eventually pay the rent for the man who trades once a month. This is the fundamental, painful truth. You must accept that your greatest strategy is often to do nothing at all. You must reserve your fire. This is the foundation of the 90% rule. Every trade carries a hidden tax. It is not just the commission the broker demands. It is the tax on your mind. Continuous engagement leads inevitably to emotional fatigue. Fatigue breeds analytical errors. You cannot think clearly when you are constantly managing stress. Think of your focus as a ledger of mental capital. Every time you enter a position, large or small, you earmark a piece of that mental capital. You must attend to the stop loss. You must manage the margin. You absorb the emotional fluctuation of the daily swings. You manage the worry about news flow and rumors. This depletion is cumulative. It subtracts from your clarity. If you force action when the signal is only 60% certain, you drain the very resources required for the one trade that matters. The high conviction opportunity, the movement that pays for the entire year. When that perfect signal arrives, you will be too tired, you will be too jaded, you will be too emotionally committed elsewhere to strike decisively and deploy your full force. The 90% rule dictates ruthless conservation of energy. You must save every ounce of your focus, every penny of your capital for the 10% strike. Do not allow small speculative activity to exhaust your judgment. When the true moment comes, you need a fresh mind and a full wallet. The speculator's most dangerous temptation is the urge to make up for lost time. This poison enters the mind in two ways. Perhaps you missed the last great surge in a certain group. Perhaps you stood aside while others boasted of easy gains. Your ego demands involvement. It demands that you catch the next one, regardless of the quality of the signal. Or perhaps you suffered a genuine, disciplined loss on your last venture and now feel the urgent, primal need to recover that capital quickly. This is desperation masking itself as opportunity. This is revenge trading against the market. And the market, I assure you, has no ego. It cares nothing for your necessity. It does not feel pity or remorse. The moment your trading is driven by ego, by the need to be right, or by financial necessity, you are blinded. Your perspective collapses to the immediate ledger. Desperation is the fog that covers the clearest risks. I learned early on that when you feel this specific urge to catch up or get back what is yours, you must stop immediately. You must pause, walk away from the ticker. Go back to the discipline of waiting. The market will always be there tomorrow. Your capital deployed in desperation may not. The 90% waiting period is designed specifically to cleanse you of this emotional urgency. It forces you to deal in facts, not feelings. We wait because we must identify the line of least resistance. The market will always travel along the path of least resistance like water seeking the sea. But you must wait until that path is undeniable. The 90% of the time you are waiting is not passive. It is active reconnaissance. It is dedicated to charting and verification. You are not waiting for a hunch. You are waiting for the structure to reveal itself completely. When a stock breaks out into truly new territory, a historic high or a decisive conviction-driven low, with significant confirming volume, that is the market confirming its intended direction. That is the 10% moment to act decisively. Until then, the market is merely range-bound noise. It is confusion designed to shake out the weak hands and fleece the impulsive. If the market is moving sideways, do not mistake consolidation for opportunity. It is simply digestion, a necessary rest. Your job during the digestion phase is to stand aside and let the market digest itself in peace. Do not interrupt the process by forcing premature trades. The price of entry must reflect the absolute certainty of the momentum. True activity, the 10% strike, only begins at the verified pivot point. The pivot point is not an estimate. It is the moment the market confirms a significant structural change in the trend. It means the forces that have held the stock range-bound or moving sluggishly have been defeated. Waiting for this point requires enduring long periods of genuine ambiguity. You must ignore the small, enticing movements that promise quick profit but deliver only costly head fakes. Waiting for the pivot point prevents the most expensive error in speculation: premature entry. Premature entry means you are committed to capital before the facts are in. You are sitting through the most painful, most ambiguous phase of the price action. The 90% wait verifies the legitimacy of the signal. It ensures that the ensuing action, your 10% commitment, is based on verifiable fact, on undeniable momentum, and on the actual movement of money, not on hope. You cannot afford to hope in this business. Hope is reserved for the preacher, not the speculator. When you find yourself hoping a stock will move, you are already acting on insufficient evidence. You did not wait for the pivot. If the general condition is cloudy, your private position must be absolutely clear. That means you must be liquid. I have chosen to sit on the sidelines for months at a time, even a year. Men thought I was foolish. They mocked me for missing the small, immediate rallies. They asked why a man of my reputation was simply holding cash. But I understood that when the macro environment, the general economy, the political stability, the global sentiment, is unclear or fundamentally unstable, even the most meticulous, stock-specific analysis can be wiped out in a broad, indiscriminate retreat. A rising tide lifts all ships, yes, but a sudden hurricane sinks them all, regardless of their individual construction or integrity. I liquidated my holdings before the major crashes precisely because the general atmosphere was tainted. The air felt wrong. When uncertainty rules the exchanges, doing nothing is the ultimate form of risk management. It is the refusal to fight a battle on ground you cannot control or foresee. The man who stands aside during generalized uncertainty demonstrates superior judgment, not cowardice. He conserves his powder. He waits for the predictable, clear attack and ignores the minor skirmishes that drain capital and morale. Every unnecessary trade is a self-inflicted tax. The speculator who trades 5 times a month has a statistically higher chance of error than the one who trades once a quarter, provided both follow their discipline. Why is this simple arithmetic true? First, there is the obvious erosion of capital. Frequent trading inherently eats into your principal through commissions and, critically, through slippage, the hidden cost of entering and exiting too quickly or too large. Those pennies, accumulated over thousands of transactions, add up to genuine fortunes lost. More profoundly, high-volume trading dramatically increases the probability of making a fundamental mistake. You cannot maintain mental clarity across 5 positions simultaneously when the market shifts. You lose focus. You lose the panoramic view. You become reactive, not analytical. Volume of trades rarely, if ever, equals volume of profit. Profit comes from the size of the move you capture, multiplied by the conviction of your initial position. The 90% rule is simply good accounting practice. You must minimize expenditures, especially transactional ones, and maximize concentration on the few trades that genuinely matter. Control your costs by controlling your impulses. The 90% rule does not end the moment the trade begins. Major profits are never derived from jumping in and out for small immediate gains. They come from establishing the position correctly and then holding through the middle. Once the great position is established, once you are riding the line of least resistance, the majority of the time, the 90% involves patiently enduring the noise. You must hold through the inevitable corrections. You must ignore the minor volatility designed to shake out the impatient. Inactivity. During the trade is crucial. It is the discipline of allowing the macro trend to fully mature and deliver its true reward. Most amateurs trade away their winners. They are delighted by a small immediate profit. They take it. And then they watch in horror as the stock runs 50 points without them. They congratulate themselves for being prudent, when in fact they were simply impatient. They confuse normal volatility, the natural ebb and flow of a price moving up or down, with a signal to exit. The great fortunes are made by men who sit still. They allow their winnings to accumulate. They refuse to let minor fluctuations tempt them into trading away a winner that they waited 90% of their life to secure. Patience holds the position. This distinction must be clear. The 90% rule is not a license for sloth. It is not hesitation. Disciplined waiting is proactive analysis. It is active observation. It is meticulous calculation and preparation. It is the military commander surveying the field for the perfect, exploitable weakness. Hesitation, by contrast, is fear-driven paralysis. It is the failure to act when the certainty finally arrives. When the verified pivot point hits, when the evidence is undeniable and the volume confirms the direction, the transition to the 10% action must be instantaneous. It must be executed with full capital. It must be fearless. Your waiting period must prepare you mentally for this moment of absolute decisiveness. If you wait, and then fail to pull the trigger when the signal validates your long analysis, you have wasted your discipline entirely. The time you spent waiting has simply become a rehearsal for failure. Waiting is the preparation for certainty. The moment certainty arrives, you must execute without doubt or second thought. You must be prepared to risk the capital you have conserved, or you remain forever on the sidelines, watching the wealth transfer to the courageous and the prepared. Let us conclude these principles by stating the clear strategic advantage. Cash is the greatest position when opportunities are scarce. Holding cash for 90% of the time is not being timid. It is being strategically sound. Cash ensures that when the 10% opportunity presents itself, a genuine, undeniable market panic, a clear sectoral rotation, or a validated conviction-driven breakout, you have 100% of your capital ready to deploy. You deploy it without borrowing strain. You deploy it without the frantic, detrimental need to liquidate an existing mediocre position at a loss. Cash gives you tactical superiority. It is the reserve army waiting for the main engagement. The public is always leveraged, always committed, always praying that the market does not turn against their existing positions. The disciplined speculator holds cash. He watches the field. He acts when the noise is loudest, and the opportunity is clearest. Cash is not merely the absence of risk, it is the presence of absolute, powerful opportunity, ready to be seized without compromise. The market is a siren. It is a magnet for the restless, for the emotionally unstable, for the greedy. They seek constant friction, constant involvement. But I tell you, your biggest profits will come not from what you add to your portfolio, but from what you ruthlessly subtract. Subtract unnecessary action. Subtract unnecessary risk. Subtract the debilitating noise of the moment. Embrace the silence. Master the waiting. If you can sit motionless for 90% of the time, if you can conserve your capital, conserve your clarity, and wait for the undeniable signal, you will inevitably be among the 10% who take the wealth. Go watch the tape. Go study the structures. But do not touch the lever until the evidence is so compelling, so absolute, that the trade forces itself upon you. That, gentlemen, is the price of successful speculation. We have established that Livermore's success was predicated not on instinct, but on lessons learned through significant market penalties, the costly price levied by the street for practical education. Fortunately, we are not required to pay those steep fees ourselves. In 1923, Edwin Lefebvre recorded the foundational psychology and tactics of Jesse Livermore in the timeless volume, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Reading this work provides an unparalleled intellectual training ground, allowing you to internalize the critical market mechanics of the past without jeopardizing capital in the present. To truly grasp the subtlety of Livermore's methods, we recommend the annotated Max Davidson edition. His commentary bridges the century gap, ensuring that this essential wisdom, paid for so dearly 100 years ago, remains profoundly applicable to the modern operator. A link to this foundational resource is provided in the description below.